Why is my volume doing that? That's weird. Good morning. Let's see if I can find myself. Okay, so I pinned it to the top, so hopefully it makes it easier for you all to find every week. Let me just hop on here so I can get the comments to come up. There we go. Good morning. Hi, Tina. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Carol. Good morning. I hope everybody's having a great day. Hi, Yvonne. Snowy Missouri. Still a little jealous, Lisa. We haven't had much, if any, snow here. Hi, Wanda. Karen, good morning. Thank you all for joining me today. Today we're going to make a pop-up box. So I'll show you. Where's the other piece of it? Here it is. Oh my gosh, I can't find the other piece. Maybe it's under here. Yep. Hope you'll like the color I made it in. It's like electric pink. I didn't put it together yet because I wanted to be able to, show you guys. So I just kind of cut out the template for it. So it's going to be like that, and then these flaps will fold down. And then when it's closed, I should have gotten an envelope down. Let's see. It should fit in a regular envelope. Let's see. It's kind of hard since it's not together. It's just like a hair tight, so you might end up having to shave just a tiny bit off when we cut it, so we'll keep that in mind. What I'll do is I'll put this template together and see, and if it is, we might just take a tiny bit off of the bottom. But so we're going to make this box today, and we're going to use the DINOROAR dies and the stamps, and I also have the paper, because I know some people have been asking for kids cards. So this will kind of kill like two birds with one stone. A really fantastic kids card. And it's not really an explosion box. It's a pop-up box. But you can make it so many different ways. There's lots of things you can do to it. One other thing I thought would kind of be cool was when you're making this box, so the template I have, I'm sorry, just give me one sec. I just want to slide this over because it keeps telling me, there you go, that it's on mute. And I'm like, okay, that's great. 42 this afternoon. Yeah, it's supposed to be really cold here on Friday too. But I'm just happy it's not raining. It has rained for 3 days straight. We've had a lot of rain. So what I decided to do is to create this box with shaded spruce. And the cool part about this is you can make this box out of one full sheet of cardstock. So that's great. But if you wanted to layer, so when we put these together, and I'll show you what I mean, we're going to have layers on top of the box. So I thought you could also use the stone embossing folder. This is a celebration purchase with a $100 purchase. This also comes with a stamp set called the Power of Hope. Or you could use the basket weave if you wanted to give it a little bit of texture. So I think for the first one, we'll do stone, and we'll add that together. And we'll see what it looks like. And then I have little pieces of the DSP cut out. I also thought to save time, what we can do is we'll use the dies to cut out some of these guys to have them stand up. And again, we'll kind of have to figure out how that is because you don't want it to go past a certain point or else it's not going to fit in your card. So we'll kind of have to fool with that because I have not made one yet. So we're going to make this together for the first time today. So wish us all luck because we're going to need it, right? So the cool part about the dino dies as well is it has a lot of really cool other parts. So you could make this into like a baby card by putting the egg with the dinosaur. You probably could also use the, I can't remember what it's called, the bug bundle. So it's a stamp set and dies. That would make a really cool card. So I might have to make a second one with that. And so maybe I'll do one with the basket weave and then one with the stone. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do the basket weave for the dinosaur and I'll save the stone for the bugs. I think it should look pretty cool. So thank you to everyone who's joining me today. Thank you for all the shares. Hopefully this is going to be a really fun card to make. And it's not terrifically complicated. So I created this kind of off of a template that I saw. But part of it when we're making the ribs, so the ribs are what is going to hold up the, so for example, if we cut out, we'll call this a brontosaurus, even though I know that's not a real name anymore, but we'll kind of put this on here so it's going to stick up. So we might have to adjust the ribs a little bit, but I did a lot of pre-working with this. So wiggle worm, thank you. So hopefully it's going to work. And then, like I said, I'm going to put the template together. We'll see if it fits in the envelope. If it doesn't, we can always shave a little bit off of our box lid, because that would probably be the easiest way to do it. And then we can just trim our stuff down just equally after that. So without further delay, I'm going to flip you over just in case if you're new and you don't have a demonstrator, I'd be happy to send you a copy of the catalog. We will have a new annual catalog coming out in June. But for right now, if you get the dinosaur bundle, there's actually a suite in here where you can get everything that's pictured, because it has some really cool embellishments that go along with it. And oh lordy be, I just had the page and now I lost it. But there is a suite code for the dinosaur, so you can get one of everything in this suite. So that's cool. You'll get the dies, the stamp set, the paper. It has a really nice ribbon that goes along with it, so you could really do this box up high, or you could kind of leave it like a minimal box, depending, especially if it's your first one. And also, if you got just the stamp set and the dies, you do get a 10% discount on that. So once this catalog goes to the next one, if the dies end up carrying over, they won't be a bundle discount anymore. So you won't save 10%. And also, thank you very much for saying that, Donna. If you wanted to, you could pick those things and join my team. You can pick $125 worth of stuff right now for $99. You also get a couple other free bonuses and a bonus extra free stamp set. And right now you actually can pick the Celebration 2 items and add them to your kit if you'd like. So if you'd like more information about that, please feel free to contact me. You can find me at rachthestamper@gmail.com, and I'm sure you'll find my phone number on the website somewhere. I don't want to say it out loud, but it's on there. So if you want, you can text me or call me, whatever's easier. So I'm going to scoot this over. And we're going to flip you down. So if you get a little bit of motion sickness, right now is when you want to look away. Ooh, windy Minnesota. Oh my goodness. That is cold. Yeah, it's supposed to be chilly here on Friday, but not that cold. By the way, I did, just quickly, I did post a second Valentine box. Did I save it? Where is it? It's got to be around here somewhere. I think I took it downstairs. Anyway, I made a Valentine's box. I did, because Christian wanted to give it to his teacher, so we had to make a second one. So it's really easy. You can fit candy in a solo bag. I put that on YouTube today, and there is a blog post as well. So if you're looking for like a last minute, really quick Valentine's treat holder, super simple, very easy to make. So I'm going to flip you around, and oops, I can see a little bit of sunshine out the window there. All right, hang on. Anyone who doesn't like feeling nauseated while they're crafting, make sure I have that in. Okay, it's all still and settled. So let me just move this out of the way. Make sure I have my comments here so I can see. All right, it looks like with the delay, it's just now flipping. So you're good. Okay, so this is the template. And so you're going to need 2 of these. I just got my paper order in. I finally got the Peaceful Poppy sequins. I know this is a completely sidebar from what we were actually talking about, but I totally intended to order these the first time and I forgot. So I ordered them and they came in yesterday, and I also got my poppy paper. But these are really cute because some of them are regular sequins, and then some of them, I don't know if you can see this or not, but they actually are scalloped like a little flower. They're so cute, and they're lots of fun colors, plus black ones. So these would be great addition to your poppy suite if you wanted to jazz up your card front a little bit, or if you wanted to make a shaker card. Really fun shakers. One other idea too to stretch this, in case you are new to doing shakers, just really quickly, you can always add these in as well. These are those little things that come in your purses and your shoes and everything, and they're clear. You can color them with ink. So if you save one of these little cases when you're done, you can put a drop of re-inker in here and put these in. You can make them any color, and they make a nice addition to your shaker. So just in case you didn't know that and you were thinking, what are these things and why do I always have them? They're great for shakers. But one word of caution, you don't want to use the ones that have a like a tan kind of stone look, because they shed everywhere. You want to have the ones that are white. So if you open them, if they're not white, just I would chuck them. Okay, so this is going to be our template. Now, I did do one of these backwards because when I was cutting it, you want them to be two this way, and I accidentally scored it incorrectly. So this is what it's going to do. I ended up folding it the opposite direction. So we're going to end up putting this together. So I'm just going to put this together so we have it, and then I'll show you how to do the other one. Let's put this together just quickly because I want to see if it fits, because if not, I want to trim just a hair off to get it to go in an envelope. Okay. Now that I'm done, I'll put my hair in a ponytail. And this probably is going to be a little bit lengthier of a video, only because, like I said, I have not actually made one of these before. So I'm going to go through everything with you. Don't worry about writing it down, because I will put all the instructions on the blog post when they're done. So we're going to just put this together like that. And make sure it lines up like that. So then your box is going to open like this. So your box will sit like this when it's open. And then we're going to put these little ribs in here. I think they should fit. Yep, that looks pretty good. So the ribs will fit, and then everything should fold flat. So this is going to be a little bit of a work in progress. So if I goof this up, I will go back and give a better measurement when we're done. But I think it should be fine, but I just want to make sure. Okay, so when this closes, basically it just folds flat. Grab my bone folder and just make sure I give this a nice crease. Okay, and then you can do the same with this. So let's see if this fits in an envelope, and if not, I'll trim off just a hair. So these are not Stampin' Up! Envelopes, which I believe I have told you that before. So it's just a teeny bit tight. So I'm going to shave probably just a 1/16 of an inch off after the fact. So if the Stampin' Up! Envelopes, which I'm sorry to say, I don't buy because I used so many envelopes, I end up skipping out on them. So they might be just a hair bigger, but if not, you could probably take a 1/16 of an inch off either the bottom or the top. Either one probably doesn't make a bit of a difference. And then it should fit perfectly fine. So to begin, so this is what we're going to do today. All right, so to get started, you are going to need, and again, this all came from one sheet of cardstock. So you're going to need 2 pieces, and I ended up cutting 4. I don't really know how many ribs I'm going to put in there. I'm guessing probably just 3, but 2 pieces. Let me grab my measurements here. And these measure 6 inches by 4 3/8 inches. Okay, so that's what they're going to measure. 6 inches by 4 3/8. You need 2 to be able to put the box together. And then for the ribs, so for one of them, I ended up trimming it down a little bit because I actually accidentally cut it crooked. But these measure 4 1/8 by 1 2/8. Okay, so the 4 1/8, and then you can see this one's a little bit thinner. It probably doesn't really matter, and quite honestly, you might be able to adjust these up and down, because again, if we have a dinosaur, listen to me, we have a dino sitting on here. What I was saying is you want to make sure that it doesn't stick up past here, or you're not going to be able to close your card. So just keep that in mind. And then I have some pieces to decorate basically the inside flaps of the box. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So I went ahead and cut these ahead of time. So I have these little white pieces, which you may not notice depending on if you wanted to emboss these, you could. But if it's just a plain layer, you could always just leave this layer plain and maybe do the stone on it if you wanted to emboss it. But I cut these ahead of time. So I'll probably do a couple different versions and then just post them. So those are going to lay on here. So you're going to need 2 of the longer pieces and 2 more like a rectangle and 2 more like a square. Okay, so for these pieces, you'll need 2 of these. These measure 3 1/8 by 1 7/8. And then the piece that layers on top of it measures 3 by 1 6/8. And then 2 of these for the squares, and this measures 2 1/8 by 1 7/8. And then the DSP measures 2 inches by 1 6/8 inches. Okay, so one thing I'm going to tell you for this, just to kind of warn you ahead of time, you do have to measure a little bit in 1/16 for this, because to get it the way I wanted it, I had to go to 1/16. So I know some people don't like doing that, so I apologize ahead of time. But what we're going to do is we're going to grab our trimmer. And let me make sure that I'm saying this correctly. So on the 6-inch side, we're going to score at 3/8 of an inch. So we'll go 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch. You could do it over here too. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch. Is that right? 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, 3/8. So 3/8 of an inch. And then you're going to score it at 2 5/16. So I'm going to flip it around this way. So you could do it 3/8 and then 2 5/16. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So it's about 3 slashes before the 2 1/2. Okay. So we did, again, 3/8 of an inch and then 2 5/16. So you'll see that's going to be this part right here. Okay. Now that's excluding the tab because the tab is in here. So that's that. Now this part is where it's important, and this is where I goofed up because I scored it this way. You want to score it so it's coming from the bottom. Okay. So you want to score it at 2 1/16. So it's just the one line over the 2-inch mark, because you want the smaller rectangle size at the bottom, because this is going to be the flap. So I hope that makes sense when I said it, because the other time I did it wrong and then I had to flip it backwards. So we're going to do it one more time. So same thing again, we're going to start at 6 inches and I'm going to score this at 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch. And then at 2 5/16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we're going to score it again we're going to go from the bottom. So you want the thin tab. So this is basically the tab. So where your tab is, you want your tab to be down, and then you're going to score it at 2 1/16. Okay, so then we should have 2 that are mirror images. Just going to fold that so I can see. Just like that. Okay, now when you have these, so these are going to be the ribs. So I'm going to just score these ahead of time. Oh, did I measure where I scored this? What did I do? Hold on, let me see. Let me just see this real quick with my, I think this was a crazy one with the 16ths. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7/16 is where you're going to score these. So again, I know this is a pain in the hiney, so some people don't like doing 16ths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That might actually be, no, that's 8. Yeah, so it's the little dash right before a 1/2 inch. That makes it easier. Oops. So I'm going to score a couple of these. And again, with the ribs, I haven't put these in yet, so bear with me. They could be a work in progress. The other thing you could do is you could go ahead and score this and then cut the strips into 1 2/8 inch strips. And I'll do one more. Actually, I'll do the skinny one just to see if this fits any better. So again, I'm scoring this at 1 7/8. 8/8, or I'm sorry, 1 7/16. 8/8 would be a 1/4 inch. Let me just write that down here. Score at 1 7/16. Okay, that way I can write up the blog, hopefully a little bit better later. So we're not going to use the trimmer any longer, only because I already trimmed out the DSP. So we could use it for something else, but we'll wait for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fold and just do our scoring. And then we'll do reinforce our scoring. Then we'll do our trimming, and then we'll fold the flaps backwards, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to miter cut. So this is going to be the bottom flap. So you're going to miter cut here. And then you're going to take this piece off. And you can cut it as straight as you can. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Worst case scenario, this is going to be covered up, but you could always go ahead and miter it a little bit if you wanted to. And then I'm going to cut straight down here. Try to stay right in the center of the line. to the score line. Okay, so there's one. So there are companies that make a die for this. Stampin' Up! Does not, which is why I decided to just do one. So maybe you have a die, but if you don't, like me, this is pretty simple. So then we're going to fold this back, because this is going to be our flap. Same for both of these. Fold these back, and I might trim this I'm just going to trim off this ridge here so it's a little bit neater. Let's see what this one looks like. This has just a teeny bit of a wiggle. Again, it's not like it has to close, but if aesthetically it bothers you, you can trim off this little teeny bit. All right, so there's one. And then same for this. This one folds down. I'm going to go ahead and trim this before I fold the other one down. And it's like such a tiny sliver. Okay, there's one, and then get this one. And really, that's it. All you have to do now is assemble and decorate your box. Okay, so put my ribs on the side. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some tear and tape because you want something very strong. So I'm going to put some tear and tape on my tab. And I'm actually going to put the DSP onto the box before I assemble it, just so I can make sure that it's nice and square for where I want it. There's nothing more than putting something together and you kind of realize you put it together a little wonky. So the DSP is going to go on this side so it shows. So I'm just going to flip it out. So your tear and tape's on the back, so flip those over. And then we're going to just put this together. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so at this point, what you could do, and I'll do it because I said I would. I'm just going to do it since I said I would do it. I'm going to put these through the embossing folder. I'll see if I can kind of get them all on here together. So if you decided you didn't want to add DSP, you could just put these on to kind of decorate it in a contrasting color. Maybe you could do red or something. So I'm going to run these through. Now this is a 3D embossing folder. Oops, hold on. So these are the ones, good gravy, come on Rach, you can do it. These are the ones that you want to run through with the blue plate. So you're going to just use your regular Big Shot platform and then the blue plate. It still does feel like it takes a little bit to crank it through, and if you wanted it to be super deep, you could spritz it with either alcohol or water. It does give a deeper ridge to it. Right. So then those, if you wanted to do these just by themselves, and they did move off, of course, this piece got skipped. So if you do it, take your time, unlike me. I got this little piece skipped too, but that's okay. I'm not going to do it over again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on here. So if you wanted to, you could skip that little piece. Now, one thing you do have to keep in mind, when you do embossing on something, it does tend to make it shrink a tiny bit. So just kind of keep that in mind. I might have to trim this down. It's close enough that it's not so bad. But it does make it shrink down a little bit. So just kind of keep that in mind. Of course, that one didn't shrink, but this one did. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to trim these down just a smidge. That way they match the other one. So I'm just going to take a hair off. Let's see if that's good. And then a hair here. So if you skip, and also, you know, remember what I did was I actually trimmed the edge of these in a little bit, so that's probably going to affect it just slightly. So I'll get rid of my little white piece there. If you don't trim these down, miter cut them, then you should be fine. So I'm going to take just a little bit off of here, just so they have a little bit showing. But also, you could completely leave these so you have just the white piece showing. If you wanted to save on your paper, you could do that. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the DSP onto here and then put this onto there. Okay, so once again, you can't really see it if we're being honest. You know, I am always as honest as possible. So at this point, I only did it really because I wanted to show you guys. You could leave this blank. So we're going to cover this up. Put this on here. Kind of try to center it. Maybe able to make that flap a little bit, the white piece actually a little bit better, bigger. And go on that one. So what I'll do is over the next couple days, I will work on a few different versions of this with a few different things and post some pictures to my blog and to Instagram. And then I usually, when I post them to Instagram, they automatically go to Facebook. So when you're doing this with anything that's embossed, it's usually a little bit better to use liquid glue because it kind of gets in the crevices and it'll hold it a little bit better. So that's why I tend to use liquid glue. You certainly don't have to, but that's usually why I do. So I'm going to just center this piece. And put a little bit on here. I think I might have slightly over measured the squares and under measured the rectangles. But first time problems, right? It's probably why most people don't make a card for the first time live on Facebook. Unlike me. I like to go for the gusto. All right, so now that we have those, might as well leave that open. Okay, those are in position. So then what I'm going to do is just flip them over, take off the release paper, and line this up. Okay, I'm just going to give that a good press. And then to make sure that it lines up pretty well, I usually try to fold it in so it's into a box. That way you'll know what it's going to look like closed. And my goodness, you could totally go nuts with this. You could add DSP underneath and everything else, but let me just reinforce these. So there you go. There's your box with your DSP, which looks adorable. So just like that. So now what I'm going to say, yeah, absolutely. I would either use DSP or emboss. I would not do both because you can't see it once it's covered. So now what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can fit these little dudes in here. So I'm going to fold them so they're opposite. That way we'll have one on each wall. Oh, these are little. These might be, I might have to readjust my scoring technique because I don't think these are going to be far enough. Let's try this since I have one that I haven't done yet. I think I said I did that at 1 7/16. I'm going to do it at 7/16. I'm going to do I'm going to do a quarter inch score, and let's see if this works out a little better. Yeah, a quarter inch score is going to be close enough that it's going to stick on both sides. So I'm going to go back, since I didn't fold this one yet, and just rescore this. And I do have some more pieces over here. So let's see, this was 4 1/8. And then if we score it at a quarter inch on both sides, I'm just making some more ribs here since I cut that other one up. And then that was 1 2/8. Let's see. Oops. 1 2. Okay. All right, let me move this over. Let's see if these look like they might fit a little better. Yeah, I think these will be a little better. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. And you're going to kind of put them in staggered. You don't have to do 3. You could just do 2 if you wanted to. And this is going to probably be the hardest part because you're going to have to glue these in to place. So I'm going to put tear and tape on this only because I really want it to stick once I do it. And I know tear and tape is a little bit wide, but you can kind of fold it over. And the other thing you could do if you'd like is you could put a little bit of Tombow liquid glue on top. So it'll give you the ability to be able to move it if you need to. And the reason I folded them kind of more like a Z instead of both sides, because sometimes if you have that opposite fold, it kind of helps them to be spaced better so they have that opposite tension holding them up. And the other reason I say that you really want to use tear and tape is because this is probably going to be opened and closed a lot if you send this especially to a little one. So you want them to be able to open it and see how fun it is to play with. So I'm just going to hit these. Okay, so the one other thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you one other thing you can do, because I'm going to use die cuts for this just to make it simpler. And sometimes you might not necessarily have the die that faces the correct direction. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to work around that. That one didn't work. So if you were to have your die, oh, this would be another cute one you could use if you wanted to. See, I even have some here. You could even add the grass. This is actually in the bug die. But I thought that'd be another fun thing you could have. You could add to it. You could also add the leaves back there if you wanted to. That might be fun. Maybe we'll see if we can throw that in there. Okay. So with these, a lot of these dinosaurs are only one direction. You can only cut them one direction. So for example, this one, you're going to cut it this way. So if there's one that's facing the opposite direction, you can't really cut it. So I'm going to show you a way to get around that. So we're going to cut him out. Might as well do the pterodactyl while we're at it. You could probably pop this up with a little bit of acetate, which I think I have a little piece here that I could probably use. So for example, let's see, where's one that's, of course, I don't have any that are going the opposite direction on here. What's the deal? That one goes that way. This one is a half. Oh, there has to be some. Well, anyway, what my point is here is if for some reason, say you wanted to cut this dinosaur out, and some of the DSP is like this, that's why I say that. If you wanted to cut this dinosaur out, but he was facing the other direction, and you were like, man, how am I going to cut him out? He's facing the wrong direction. What you can do is you can flip over your paper. Now you're going to have to hold this up to the light so you can see it, but you're going to hold it up to the light, and you're going to line up your die, and then you'll tape it, and then you run it through backwards, and it's going to give you a mirror cut. Now the reason I say to do this is because if you wanted this to be so you could see it from the front and the back, that it was a mirror image, then you would have to cut out one that's an opposite. So just keep that in mind. It may not make sense now because, of course, this DSP is the one I pick out that actually has everything going in the correct direction. But if for some reason you didn't, you can line it up from the back, flip it over, and cut it out. I've done that before, actually, with the animal, the DSP that had the koalas and whatnot on it. So we have these two guys. Let's see, one other thing I can cut out here. We'll cut him out because he's kind of on the bottom, and we can hide his feet. So I hope what I was just saying makes a little bit of sense to you. So we'll just do this part of the T-Rex right here. Let's see, do I have another piece? I'm gonna use some Post-it tape. All right, so I'm gonna run these three through the die cutting machine. So I have one other thing I want to tell you too. When you do this T-Rex, the crazy part is the way this die works. It actually cuts out the body and not the spikes. So if you want to get the spikes, you have to run it through one more time with this one other piece. Give me 1 second. I'll show you what I mean. So this is going to cut out just that part. So if you want to cut this part out, the little ridges in his back, you actually have to use this other, is it this one? It's this one. Yeah, you have to use this other little piece to cut out the ridges. So my T-Rex is just going to be ridgeless because I don't want to make you watch me do that. Let me scoot this over. Alrighty. And then we'll use the leaf too for something. So we can always, you could use this for something different if you wanted to as well. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of figure out where we're going to put these and which ones we want to go. So you can kind of bring them up, but you have to remember when you do this, you don't want them to stick above the box. Okay, so that's the one kind of thing you have to keep in mind. You can put him on the back. Maybe back there. This is probably going to be the most difficult one, but it looks like as long as we put him down at about the halfway mark, he should be okay. So I'm going to kind of put him in the back. So I'm just going to put some glue on the bottom of him just to adhere him. So let's see. I had him this way. Like that. This dude I'll put on, and I don't want him to be too far over that he kind of goes out. So I'm going to kind of put him right here. Just so his mouth is within the fold. Might have to move him over just a little bit. And then we have the leaf, but what I'm going to try to do, since I have it here somewhere. I have a piece of, oh, don't tell me I put it away. I might actually put something away for a change. Miracles never cease. Well, dang. Nope, here it is. So I have this just piece of acetate, and this is probably from a stamp set that I either was one of the, maybe the double-sided ones. So I'm going to just use this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim just a little piece, and I'm going to hook it to the pterodactyl. Now I think I'm going to actually put a second one on the other side of this so it covers up the acetate. So I'm just going to cut just a little strip of acetate. You can see it's just a thin piece. And let me bring him back over so I don't lose what I'm doing. So let me find another pterodactyl that I can back this to. And so this is going to go this way. So this is where I'm going to need one that faces the opposite. So what I'm going to do is, what I might actually have to do is stamp one. So bear with me here for a minute. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm trying to think of my idea of will it work backwards is or isn't going to work. Hopefully you guys know what it is I'm going, what my aim is. So I have pink. So I'll do the same thing. We'll just do one in Flirty Flamingo. Actually, you know what I probably need to do for this is I probably need to mirror stamp it. That's probably exactly what I need to do. So just for the idea of trying to do it quickly, and it might not look as super duper as it could, I'm going to do it on the silicone mat. I sometimes find that I don't like the way the silicone mat does the image, but this one's got a little bit of texture to it anyway. See if I can kind of find this clear spot. So I'm stamping the image that I want. Move this up on a little bit so you can see onto the silicone mat. So I stamp the image, and then I'm going to take it and flip it over on top of a piece of Whisper White. and press. Sometimes it gives okay, but I don't think it gives as good as if you did it with a clear acrylic stamp. So that's actually not too bad. I'm gonna say I'm pretty impressed with that one. Let me put this over here so I don't ruin it. So now what you're gonna have to do, so this totally explains, this is what I was thinking about at 4 o'clock in the morning. So now what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna cut this backwards to get it to cut out. So I'm gonna have to hold this up to a light to see exactly where it lines up. So that's where it lines up. I'm going to put a piece of tape here. And hold on, I'm going to run this through so you can see what I mean. Where's my cutting plate? Oh, getting all crazy. Dang, lost my cutting plate. Oh my gosh. Right in front of me. Okay, so now you have this piece. Granted, it is going to be lighter because it's different, but it's going to match up on the back. So we can cover this up, and then we can put this piece in the middle, and then it'll fly, and it's going to look like a pterodactyl. Granted, we're going to have to probably trim this down significantly, but it'll look like it from both sides. So that's what I was getting at. So I'm glad I remember what I was trying to tell you. All right, I'm going to put, again, I'm going to put a little piece of tear and tape, only because I want it to be strong, and just a little bit, I'm going to put one on each side, and a little bit of liquid glue. Yeah, so 4 o'clock in the morning. This is what I was saying. Now that is a good idea with the Stamparatus. You could do it multiple times. I just have a hard time with the silicone matte when you're trying to get a really detailed image. It probably isn't so bad because it's a pterodactyl, and these have a little bit more of a dotted line to them. But when you're trying to get something that's detailed, I just don't find that it works quite as well as I want it to. So this isn't exactly lined up. If I was being really careful, I would trim that little piece off, but I'm not going to for now. And then I'm going to put some liquid glue just so this whole thing kind of stays together. Okay, just like that. And lay this on top. And perfect. Actually, the way this is because of the green paper underneath, it kind of just looks like a shadow, but pretty cool. At least I did the same color. One other thing is it's kind of nice because it doesn't have an eyeball here, but you could just go ahead and fill one in with your, I'm going to do that. There we go. So he has an eyeball on each side. And then this one, I'm going to hook onto one of those ribs. And so now the only thing we have to do is put the ribs together, which I feel like I'm kind of avoiding because I'm afraid it's not going to work out, but we'll get through it. Even if it doesn't work out the first time, somehow I'll get through it. So I'm going to take this off. Both sides. Same thing with this. If you wanted to, you could stamp and cover this up if you're worried about what the back of it would look like. I'm going to flip this because this is just a little bit wider and just put a teeny bit of glue. So same thing here, just flipping this in on itself and a little bit of glue. All right, let's see. So I'm going to put this one kind of more up front. Oh, has to be straight or else it's not going to stay. So kind of press where you think you want it. I'm just making sure, okay, covered. So that looks pretty good. Let's see. Why? Hold on. Something here is not lining up correctly for me. Oh, because it's not straight. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's one. By some miracle, it worked. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide my bone folder in here and just press on that little piece. Just so I can... It's not so bad on this one, but this one is a little bit hard. So I just pressed it with that. Okay, so that's one. Then for the second one was this guy. So I'm just going to peel off. And I kind of wish I would run across this tutorial, or thinking of doing this, I should say, a couple weeks ago, because one of my son's friends loves dinosaurs and she would have totally loved this card. All right, so then same thing again. We have our flaps glued in place. We'll put this here. Again, you want to try and kind of make sure you have it straight. You might have to look from the underneath to make sure it looks relatively straight. You could also make these so they were bigger. That way you'd have less wiggle room. You could make them almost so they lined up to the exact point. Let's see if that helps any. So kind of, if you put it in where you want it and then you kind of close it the way it would be closed and press, that kind of helps to make sure they're lined up squarely. And then same thing again, I'm just going to grab my bone folder and I'm just pressing that in, because I do have the tear and tape and the liquid glue. So the liquid glue will let you be able to move it if you need to. So there's nothing's above. So there's 2. Okay, so the last one we have, watch, this one will be the most difficult. The last one we have is the pterodactyl. So we're going to see if we can fit this one in. And really, if you wanted to, if you want to skip the drama, you could probably hook this to the back here and just put like a little flap to cover it. But I'm going to trim this down. So let's see. Because we don't want it to be too tall that it sticks out of the card. So let's see. Right about there. He's kind of stuck to the back of him. So I'm going to stick him onto this. I'm going to do the same thing again though. I'm actually going to use a little bit of tear tape just to make myself feel better that it's going to stick. I'm just going to try to fold this back on top. All right, so we'll put this back here. Let's see. We have that. Let's put him, we'll put him kind of more on the middle to the left. Okay, and even if you wanted to, you could put like a little piece of something here to cover it if you felt like it. So just for the heck of it, we'll just do that. I'm going to trim it down just a little, just to keep the magic of the card. Like, how did you do that? This is totally optional, and I think I over glued and under measured. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that for a sec. So then it kind of covers up that little piece back there, okay? So same thing again. Now we're going to just pull the release paper off. Oh, you know what? I glued this one backwards. Dang it. Oh, I'm going to pull it off. Sorry, don't mind me. Because I want it to stick with the same way of what I'm doing. So the flaps are the same just because it'll be easier. So now I don't even need to worry about this part that I cover up back here. I need to cover up this mess that I made, but I'm going to leave it. Okay. Let me just press this with my bone folder. That liquid glue, even though it's been removed, it does stick pretty well, so. It is very, thank you, Marty. I think it's adorable too, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, you know, once you get over trying it the first time, then you'll probably be like, oh, and then I can do this, and then I can do that. And again, remember, when I'm making these videos, I'm doing these for the first time ever, most of the time, which always takes more time because you got to figure out like the little goofballs that you make. Like this, I taped it on backwards. You have to figure out all those little things. So it probably should work out much simpler. And I will modify the DSP measurements for this too. So, all right, let's do this last one. We're going to slide them in the back. Oops. Stick into my fingernails. I'm going to keep him kind of a little bit more towards the back. And I just want to make sure, yeah, so right now he's still sticking up a little too high. Make sure he's below, still a little bit high, below the flaps. I think that should be good, yeah. Okay, so let me just check him from the bottom. Looks pretty good. All right, so I'm just going to press this to pick it up. That look good. Closing nicely. Good. Okay, and then I'm going to just do the same thing again. So one more time, I'm just going to Press with the bone folder. All right. And I forgot my leaf, but you know what I could do? Oh, you know what? I could cover that up right there. I'm going to put him in the back. Just this crazy leaf. We'll put that in the back. Let me make sure it's still going to close okay. Yeah. I'll just kind of have him on here a little bit. You could always edge this with some, if you still have that metallic gold or silver, just to give a fun look to the leaf. Put him in the back. Let's make sure everything's still closing well. Yep. So, there you go. Not too long. I mean, what time is it? It's only 10:20. So I finished 10 minutes early with goof ups and refixing things and whatnot. So that's pretty good for me. And you know, even with this, so obviously you can add your happy birthday greeting to it. You could put that on the front if you wanted to, instead of one of your panels to cover it up. But this is cute because he really does kind of look like he's flying. So I think any kid will get a kick out of that. Dinosaurs in a box. And boy, the possibilities with this are endless of what you could do. So let me just fold this up. And I want to make sure, because if not, we'll just probably very gently trim off a hair. But I want to make sure. Might be a little thick. You might have to put on one of those extra ounce stamps. But otherwise, nothing is sticking out. It's no taller than it was before, where I said the flap was just a little bit over. So it is a teeny bit, but we kind of started out that direction. So probably to shave off maybe like a 1/16 of an inch on here. And again, you don't need an envelope if you're doing this card, giving it to somebody in person. But it's so cute. How fun is that? What a fun card. Now, one other thing I want to tell you, I have seen some people that do this. And what they'll do is they'll actually tie, if you wanted to do one that was like a little bit more fancy, which I kind of don't, I guess you could. Maybe you could tie the 3 flaps down and just have the one. So when they were getting this in the mail, they would pull it out. And then these 3 would be tied with ribbon. So I saw someone did a card like that. So I'm just going to show you what I mean. I'm not really sure why you would do it that way, because unless you were doing it maybe for like a grown-up card and it was supposed to be kind of fancy and pretty and you wanted to tie these down with a soft ribbon, that might be nice. But quite honestly, I think the hanging out part is more fun. So I think this is an adorably fun card. And again, once you kind of work with it, now you can only really, the way your ribs are, you don't want to fold it the opposite way closed. You want to fold it the same way that you've done the whole time when you put it in the envelope. But aside from that, adorable card. Could add your, just the DSP layer here, or I shouldn't say the DSP. You could do an embossed white layer here, or whatever color, and then you could just do a little punch with happy birthday on it, because this stamp set does have lots of really fun Friendosaurus, Look Who's Hatched, Your Rarsome. This is a great stamp set, especially for kids. So I hope you guys love this card as much as I do. I think this is absolutely adorable. And now that I have fully made one, definitely not as intimidating as I thought. Again, I am going to go back and make sure that I rewrite the measurements, because I think I'm going to change this just while I'm sitting here thinking. So I made that, the scoring was at 1/4 inch on each side for the ribs. And then the DSP, we probably could make this this base panel a little bit bigger for lining the edge, whereas this one probably could go a little bit smaller, because if you do trim in with your paper, if you kind of get rid of those little edges, it does modify the sides of it a little bit. So this measures about, what is that one? 3 5/8. So you could probably do 3 1/2 would be not bad. 3 1/2 by, what is that? That's 2 1/4. So 3 1/2 by 2 1/8. So I'm going to change that. So I'm going to say 3 1/2 by 2 1/8. And then you could do 3 by 2 for the bigger one, because I think this one could use to be a little bit bigger just to match consistently. This one could probably be shaved down a tiny bit. So I said 2 1/8 by 1 7/8. So I think maybe I would do 2 and, well, you can't really get too much smaller unless you're going to go to a 16th. So maybe 2 inches by 1 6/8. And then you would go a little bit smaller if you wanted to layer the DSP on there. 1 6/8. And then maybe if you were going to do DSP, I would say 1 7/8. 1 7/8 by 1 4/8. Okay, so thanks for sticking with me, because I like to rewrite down the directions, that way I don't forget. And also don't forget, if you want to cover up any of your dinosaurs, you can stamp another one with the reverse image. You can use your Stamparatus. I've done lots of videos with the Stamparatus with the reverse stamping. All you have to do is search on YouTube under my channel, Rachthestamper, and you'll find Stamparatus reverse imaging. You can also find it on my blog, and then you could cover up the back of this so it looked like dinosaurs from the front and the back the same. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Thank you so very much for stopping in and sharing some time with me today. I truly appreciate it. If you guys would like to make this card, all you're going to have to do is later. I do have to go to the doctor, so it won't be till I get back, but I will put all the measurements for this on my blog later on today. And then I'm probably going to do a couple other ones. So I think I'm going to do one of the same version, maybe with just embossed folders, and then maybe just DSP on the back one. And then I'm also going to do one with the bugs, the Wiggle Worm, not the Bugs Life, the Wiggle Worm stamp set and dies, because I think that will be really cute as well. This will probably be great also with the Animal Outing stamp set. If you still have that, or if you don't have it yet, you could get it in the dies. So leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. If you make one of these, make sure you come back on here at Rachthestamper, because there is an area where you can upload pictures. I believe it's called Community. I would love to see what you made with yours. I would love, and I'm sure everybody else would too, with the inspiration. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you have any questions, you can always send me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. If you'd like to get the supplies to make this card and more, you can go to my online store, rachthestamper.stampinup.net. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for watching.